knowing that the richest family has no resistance to children with kind hearts. Therefore, when I first met him, I took the initiative to hug my sister and cried, "Sister, I hope that no matter who adopts you, you will always be my sister. Uncle, please adopt my sister, I am still young, I can endure hardship." My sister was bewildered, but the richest family was moved, and immediately decided to adopt me. Just like that, under my sister's surprised eyes, I pretended to reluctantly sit in the richest family's car. I cried. But it was fake crying. Because I had been reincarnated. In my previous life, my sister was adopted by the richest couple because of her kindness. As for me, I was later adopted by a famous actor couple. After growing up, under my sister's schemes, the richest family went bankrupt, and I became a famous star in the entertainment industry. My sister couldn't stand the fact that I was living a better life, and was so jealous that she pushed me off the tall building. Before I fell, I managed to grab the hem of her shirt. God has eyes, before I died, I pulled her along. When I opened my eyes again, my sister and I were sitting in front of the director's office door. She kept looking worried. I heard her whisper, "The Song family will go bankrupt, this time I definitely won't go with them. I have to go into the entertainment industry, become a superstar, and earn 5 million a day." It seemed that I wasn't the only one who was reincarnated in this life. My sister was the same. Suddenly, the office door opened. Before she could react, I immediately hugged her. "Sister, I hope that no matter who adopts you, you will always be my sister. Uncle, please adopt my sister, I'm still young, I can endure hardship." My sister was bewildered, as if she hadn't expected this unexpected situation. Just like in the previous life, the richest couple could not resist the cuteness of the kind-hearted children. This time they decided to adopt me. I pretended to be reluctant, tears streaming down my face as I held her hand tightly, and finally got into the richest family's car. The car was about to leave when from afar, a Porsche slowly approached. The car stopped. The people who got off were my adoptive parents from my previous life, a famous couple of actors. In front of the orphanage, the camera lights kept flashing. They greeted the reporters. Through the car window, I saw the director leading my sister to the couple. My sister smiled brightly, full of excitement. I lowered my head and smiled too. "Sister, do you really think that the couple's home is heaven? 2. The outside of the stars is always neat and beautiful. But the inside is rotten and rotten. In my previous life, when I was brought home, I couldn't take my eyes off that luxurious world. I thought I had entered heaven. But in fact, I had entered hell." The adoptive mother, Lin Qingxuang, was afraid that it would affect her figure, so she resolutely refused to have children. At that time, the entertainment industry was in the midst of a surrogacy controversy, and she didn't dare go abroad to hire a surrogate mother. So she and her husband, Tru Tan Thin, decided to adopt an orphanage. I was 8 years old that year, and they always took me with them to parties. At first, I was very happy, thinking that my adoptive parents liked me, so they brought me everywhere. But when those vulgar men with their hands on my thighs and their mouths full of alcohol came close to talk to me, I panicked and cried. I begged my adoptive parents for help, but they just glared at me and asked me not to cry, to call them adoptive father, and to smile at them, and let them kiss me. They also forced me to learn all kinds of talents like piano, dancing, etc. As long as I didn't satisfy them, they would stab me with needles. Under the beautiful cover of Lin Qingxuang was a terrifying, vicious face. During the long nights Zhao Jinxing enjoyed himself with other women, she was like a madman, forcing me into a corner of the room. She used her cold, vicious voice to insult me. She used needles to prick my fingers, pinch my thighs. Every time Zhao Jinxing returned home, they would argue with each other after just a few words, and even beat each other. They destroyed the house. I could only hide in the dark room, huddled in the corner, trembling, remembering my days in the orphanage. In that hellish life, I grew up. I grew up beautiful. According to them, this face was born to seduce men. They used me to exchange resources, to get me into the beds of the big shots. My foster father, Zhao Jinxing. At night, he crawled into my bed, his hands groping all over my body, saying the most disgusting words in the world. "Nuan Nuan, let me taste you." That feeling made me nauseous and disgusted. So this time, I had to get rid of them. My sister cooperated with that evil couple, acting out a happy family scene of a family of 3 in front of the camera. I withdrew my gaze. My current foster mother, Wei Xiangyi, held my hand tightly. Her palm was very warm. "Nuan Nuan, can't you bear to leave your sister? If you miss your sister in the future, I will take you to visit her." I smiled at Wei Xiangyi. "Thank you, Mom." Wei Xiangyi held my hand even tighter. That was the feeling of family, that was strength. They made me a new household registration, and I changed my name to Song Nuan. They asked me how I wanted to decorate my room, what I liked to eat. In my previous life, at this time, I hid in a dark corner, listening to the devil couple arguing, being treated as a puppet by them, cooperating with them to act in front of the camera, attracting attention, pleasing the perverts. Now I am in my mother's arms, being a real child. Wei Xiangyi was afraid that I would miss her, so she often paid attention to her news, showing it to me every time. In the video, in the photo, my sister was like a little princess, holding her chin high, looking so arrogant that she didn't look like a child. I'm not sure if she has one foot in hell now, but I know she is waiting for the day she becomes a big star. Because that day, no matter what she is going through now, she can endure it. 3. I grew up happily in the Song family, now 9 years old. That day, my father and mother brought me into the study. Both of them looked very serious. Mom asked me, "Nuan Nuan, if I give birth to another little sister or brother for you, will you agree?" I reflexively looked at my mom's belly, knowing that when she asked that, there must be signs in her belly. In her previous life, my sister, in order to monopolize the love of her adoptive parents and the entire Song family fortune, secretly gave Wei Xiangyi birth control pills every day when she was young, making her unable to get pregnant. Even when she died, her belly still didn't move. These words were after the Song family went bankrupt. Song Jingshu and Wei Xiangyi passed away. My sister lost everything, came to me, went crazy and told me, "Wei Xiangyi, that damn woman can't give birth because of me. Nuan Nuan, don't worry, with me here, your adoptive mother definitely won't be able to give birth either. In the future, all their assets will be yours." She thought that I was like her, only having money in her eyes. I took my eyes off my mother's belly, looked at her, then at my father, smiled and nodded. Of course I agree. My mother and father both breathed a sigh of relief. They didn't have children before, so they went to the orphanage to adopt. Now that my mother is pregnant, they were afraid that I would think too much, so they asked for my opinion. My mother hugged me. "Nuan Nuan, you are the lucky star of our family. Thank you for letting me be your mother." My mother's belly is getting bigger and bigger. The whole family is looking forward to the birth of this baby. But I still see news about my sister every day. We are fraternal twins. On her face, which looks like mine, she always smiles in front of the camera. Even her personal account has surpassed 2 million followers. Every day she shows off the luxury items her parents bought for her. Everyone is jealous of her, saying that she is so lucky to have famous and rich adoptive parents like Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qing. They say that although she was not born in Rome, her adoptive parents brought her there. She is a lucky child. But I could see that the light in her eyes was gradually fading. Her smile was becoming more and more fake. She was still young, but she wore heavy makeup, thick layers of powder. Sometimes in the middle of the hot summer, she still had to wear long-sleeved shirts and long pants. all to cover up the marks on her body. My sister, because she wanted to have a glorious life admired by thousands of people in the future, was really good at enduring. My parents were different, they never put me in the spotlight. Not because they didn't want to acknowledge me, but because they wanted to ensure my safety. I continued to live my carefree childhood. A few months later, my mother gave birth to a baby girl. But my parents treated me better and better. I knew they didn't want me to feel disappointed. Every day after coming home from school and finishing my homework, I eagerly looked for my little sister to play with. I gently held her little hand. This life, I will protect my sister, protect my parents, protect this family. As for my sister and that evil couple, don't be in a hurry. What they did to me in my previous life, I will pay them back 1,000 times over. For, over the years, my sister and I have always been two parallel lines, without any intersection. But I know, the time is coming for us to meet again. Just like in our previous life. In this life, my sister and I met again on the first day of college. We even lived in the same dormitory. My parents knew that I loved the arts. At first they planned for me to study business administration so that I could inherit the family business, but out of respect for my interests, they agreed to let me enter the Academy of Communications. Now your surname is Song, and mine is Zhao. We are no longer family. From now on just pretend we don't know each other. I don't want people to say that I'm clinging to the richest young lady. That was the first thing she said to me when she saw me. I knew she was scared that after the Song family went bankrupt, I would do what she had done in her previous life. The heart of a bad person is like a mirror, looking at everyone and thinking that the other person is like them. I nodded, okay. Until now, my sister still doesn't know that if it weren't for her excessive greed, stealing the company's confidential documents to sell for money, and then doing things that caused the stock price to plummet. How could the Song family have gone bankrupt? That year, after Song Jingshu and Wei Xiangyi discovered that she had sold the company's secrets, they couldn't bear to put her in jail. But my sister was afraid that they would betray her one day, so she didn't hesitate to kill them. I looked at the thick layer of makeup on her face. No matter how much makeup she put on, no matter how well she hid it, I could still clearly see the deep fatigue in her eyes. Those were eyes that had lost their light, like a dry well. Actually, at this time in my previous life, I was beaten less often. After all, I had talent, was considered a child star model, and helped Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingshuang to be proud. They relied on me to earn money and resources, so of course they had to cherish me. Zhao Jinxing couldn't bear to hit me. The way he looked at me couldn't hide his dirty intentions and disgusting love. What about my sister? She had no talent. It was also thanks to Zhao Jinxing donating a building to the school that the school made an exception to accept her. She also posted many short videos, dancing, playing the piano, painting. It can only be said that it was difficult to judge. She had no talent, failure was inevitable. But Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingshuang, such greedy and pretentious people, would definitely not easily give up on turning my sister into their money tree. They would use money to force me. I could imagine how much torture and humiliation she had to endure in that situation. I didn't even need to investigate. I knew that evil couple too well. When my sister saw me agree so quickly, she laughed mockingly. It seems that I don't need to say anything. Now that you are the richest young lady, of course you don't even bother to pay attention to this older sister anymore. She left with peace of mind, carrying the luxury items she had bought, and went to the other dormitories to give them away. To please everyone. Although the Media Academy was a place for the children of the rich, the more it was like that, the more obvious the class distinction became. Those whose family backgrounds were worse than my sister's quickly became her attendants. As for me, I still didn't say anything about my family, dressed simply and unpretentious. In their eyes I became a low-class person. The other two roommates even said, Song Nuan and Zhao Yu really look alike, but one is the child of a celebrity, the other is just a commoner. It's true that they have the same face but different fates. My sister heard that and was extremely pleased. I knew she was counting down the hours, waiting for the Song family to go bankrupt, waiting for me to become a real low-class person, so that she could humiliate and oppress me. She was truly a natural-born bad person. That night, when she was taking a shower in her room, I accidentally opened the door and walked in. Sure enough, her body was covered in purple and blue bruises. I'm sorry, I forgot there was someone inside. Then I deliberately took a breath, pretending to ask, what happened to your sister? My sister grabbed a towel and threw it straight at my head, get out. Her panic did not escape my eyes. Someone who always thought of herself as arrogant as her, how could she accept me seeing this scene? I put down the towel, turned around, and smiled slightly. Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingshuang really did not disappoint me. My sister quickly finished washing her face, stepped out from above and looked down at me, who was sitting on the chair. You girls go out, she said to the other two roommates. Once the other two had left, she narrowed her eyes dangerously. Song Nuan, what you just saw, you are not allowed to say anything. If I hear anyone gossiping, even if it wasn't you, I will take this debt out on you. I won't say anything. I smiled and added deliberately, besides, how are you going to settle the score with me? No matter how powerful your parents are, they are just people in the entertainment industry. Hearing me say that, her face became fierce, but as if she suddenly remembered something, a hint of pride appeared on her face. She even said to me, the Song family is about to go bankrupt. I raised my eyebrows. Oh? Don't you dare not believe it. My sister looked at me with a sarcastic expression. Song Nuan, considering that we were once sisters, I'm kindly reminding you, take care of yourself. Then thank you, I'll wait and see, when will our family go bankrupt? 6. My sister looked at me with eyes like she was looking at an idiot. It was the confidence of a reincarnated person who knew the script in advance. Song Nuan, you better drop out of school. If your family goes bankrupt, when you can't pay your tuition, people will laugh at you. Haven't you heard that these art schools are just places to burn money? Moreover, look at you, she said this, her eyes swept over me. By then, you won't have money, you won't have backing, no company will be willing to sign a contract with you. In recent years, the entertainment industry is really not what it used to be, it is now a paradise for the children of the rich. But now it's too early for you to say these words. Whether my family goes bankrupt or not is not something you can decide. In your previous life, you saw me on the news every day, and you were jealous by nature. When you saw me answering an interview about wanting to enter the Academy of Communications, you immediately signed up. But no company signed a contract with you before. In this life, you think that with parents like Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingshuang, you can dominate the entertainment industry? I immediately teased you a bit. That's right, I heard that the rumors about your father are really big this time. Hearing that, your face immediately darkened. Zhao Jinxing had always been surrounded by rumors since he entered the entertainment industry, and even after getting married, he had not given up his womanizing ways. I knew that Lin Qingshuang loved him very much at first. But after less than a few years of marriage, Zhao Jinxing went out to find other women, and Lin Qingshuang went crazy because of that. This time, the rumors about Tru Tan Thin were even more shocking, to the point that the story of her illegitimate child was also exposed. My sister was someone who was very concerned about her adoptive parents having biological children, because that meant she could not monopolize their property. In her previous life, Lam Tan Swang did not want to have children because she was afraid of losing her figure. But this time I heard that Zhao Jinxing had an illegitimate child outside. It was really getting more and more attractive. Looking at her ugly expression, I felt satisfied. It was just the prelude, the main act hadn't even begun yet. I turned around and walked away. Her angry voice echoed from behind. Zhao Jinxing, that bastard man, messed up my plans. It seemed like the rumors outside were true. After finishing military training, I signed up to perform at the freshman welcome party. Of course, my sister signed up too. How could she miss this opportunity to attract attention? That day, my parents brought my younger sister Nuan along. They sat in the corner near the entrance. I received a text message from my mother. It was a recording. When I opened it, it was Nuan's sweet voice. "Sis, do your best." I couldn't help but smile. As soon as I changed my clothes and walked out, I immediately ran into my sister. She was wearing the same dance outfit as me, her face full of complacency, her eyebrows furrowed. "Song Nuan, what show are you performing?" I smiled and asked back, "Didn't you look at the performance list?" My sister was the type of person who was always self-centered and liked to attract attention. During the military training she didn't care about anything. Whenever she had time she practiced dancing. Why would she care about what other people were performing? She was confident that her performance was the best. This time, seeing me wearing the same outfit, she realized something. Her dissatisfaction was clearly visible on her face. She immediately took out her phone to check the performance list. Ethnic dance? She clenched her phone tightly and walked closer. "Song Nuan, did you do this on purpose?" I looked at her innocently. "What's the matter?" The others also turned to look. My sister gritted her teeth, glared at me. Turning away, she excitedly shouted, "Mom and Dad! You two are here!" I froze, slowly turning my head. It was Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingshuang, my adoptive parents from my previous life. The memories of them abusing me in my previous life flashed through my mind like slow motion. I could even clearly feel Zhao Jinxing's hands caressing my entire body. That time, if I hadn't hit him on the head with a desk lamp, and Lin Qingshuang had argued with him, I might have been. After Lin Qingshuang found out about Zhao Jinxing's feelings for me, she used needles to stab me all over my body countless times. That time, I almost lost my life. That was in my previous life. I took a deep breath, trying to adjust my emotions. My sister deliberately acted intimate in front of Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingshuang. "Mom and Dad, you two are so good to me. You're so busy yet you still came to watch me perform." Lin Qingshuang reached out to stroke my sister's head. I could clearly see her body tremble slightly. She didn't know that my parents had brought my younger sister, and tried to show me how happy she was. "Mom and Dad, you two come in and sit down, wait and watch my performance." She sent Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingshuang out, and when she came back, she smiled smugly at me. I had made some arrangements, and her performance would take place before mine. It was her turn to go on stage. She confidently walked up. I had investigated her. Just like her previous life, in this life, that evil couple also forced her to learn art. Folk dance was one of the skills they forced her to learn. I sat backstage and watched. She danced without any grace, her movements were stiff, and she couldn't keep up with the rhythm. The only thing she got a perfect score for was her confidence. Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingshuang sat in the second row, right in the middle. From their eyes, I could tell that they were not satisfied with her performance at all. But my sister was clearly very confident in herself. As she stepped off the stage, her eyes were full of challenge as she looked at me. I don't know who arranged for the two ethnic dances to be performed back to back. "Song Nuan, remember to perform well." Of course. I would definitely perform well. In this life, I had never learned ethnic dance, and my sister knew that too. She was waiting to see me embarrassed. But she was disappointed. In my previous life, I had participated in many dance competitions and won all the championships. After finishing a dance, the applause resounded throughout the auditorium. Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingxuang's eyes were fixed on me. When I returned backstage, a group of people surrounded me. Song Yuan, you dance so beautifully. How many years have you been studying? I smiled in response, then looked at my sister, immediately meeting her malicious gaze. She pulled me to a deserted corner. You said you had never learned to dance, right? I looked at her angry expression with amusement. So you admit that I dance better than you? There were voices of discussion not far away. Zhao, you didn't inherit any artistic talent from Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingxuang. She's just an adopted child, not a biological child. What did she inherit? With just a few moves of hers, she dares to go on stage to perform. Did you see the expressions on her parents' faces sitting below? She's really special. Hearing this, my sister's face immediately turned pale. It seemed like she suddenly remembered something, her eyes filled with panic. No! Impossible! She suddenly collapsed, her face as pale as a ghost. Song Yuan, it's all your fault. If today she stopped mid-sentence, unable to finish her sentence. But I know what she was going to say. If she gets beaten again today, it's my fault. But isn't this what she always wanted? She chose these people to be her parents. Seeing her so frightened, I just wanted to say that the fun is still ahead. She started to tremble, pushed me away, and ran away. 8. I changed into my performance clothes and walked out. Glancing at the second row, Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingxuang had already left. TSK, sister, you're going to suffer again tonight. Zhao Jinxing is involved in an illegitimate child scandal that can't be put down. That's why they came to see her perform. If her performance can make a splash and be reported by the press, they can act out a happy and harmonious family drama in front of the media, and the illegitimate child scandal will be forgotten. But my sister can't do that. Not only did she perform poorly, but she was also overwhelmed by me. This time, her foster parents would definitely be completely disappointed in her. I went to look for my parents. Nuanyuan smiled brightly with her bright eyes. Sis, you dance very well, your performance is the best. I gently touched Nuanyuan's nose. I haven't seen the next performance yet. How do you know your performance is the best? Nuanyuan tilted her head. Anyway, in my heart, your performance is the best. My parents laughed. My mother took my hand and continued to watch the other performances together. Nuanyuan pulled my other hand. This feeling was wonderful. After seeing my parents and Nuanyuan off, I returned to the dormitory, but I couldn't find my sister anywhere. At around 11 o'clock, I received a video. I immediately put on my headphones and opened the video. My sister's heartbreaking cries rang out loudly. Mom! Please forgive me. Don't hit me anymore. In the video, Lin Qingxuang was whipping my sister with a belt. She was rolling around on the floor in pain. Zhao Jinxing sat on the sofa, smoking a cigarette, watching the scene coldly. It hurts so much, don't hit me anymore. Actually, without hearing the screams, just looking at them was enough to know how much pain it was. In my previous life, when I first came to the Zhao family, this was my daily scene. At that time, every time I was beaten to near death, neither of them paid any attention to me. Only a maid named Xiao Hui pitied me and secretly applied medicine to me. 2 years ago, I had a chance encounter with Xiao Hui at a supermarket near the Zhao family. In this life, even though she didn't recognize me, we had a good conversation. She confided in me how my sister was tormenting them at home. So Xiao Hui and I joined hands. She gave me information from my sister, and I paid her. When I got my revenge, she would have enough savings to retire. This video was secretly recorded by Xiao Hui and sent to me. but she did not apply medicine for my sister. Indeed, no one liked my sister wherever she went. In the second half of the video, she was lying motionless on the ground. Only then did Zhao Jinxing speak up. You beat her until she was black and blue. What if she was discovered? Lin Qingshuang threw the belt at Zhao Jinxing. It's all your fault. You bastard. You cheap man. If you hadn't given birth to an illegitimate child outside, wouldn't things have come to this? Zhao Jinxing roared, shut up. You can't give birth to a child yourself, who else are you blaming? It turned out that Lin Qingshuang was planning to give birth to a child. But thanks to her good daughter, she probably won't be able to give birth again in this life. 9. A week later, my sister returned to school. She was still the child of a brilliant star, unmatched by anyone. I deliberately asked, where have you been lately? Why haven't you come to class? My sister frowned slightly, but then her face changed to a smiling face. My parents brought me to meet a few directors. I'm about to join the film crew. I looked at her with admiration. Your parents treat you so well. My sister paused for a second, then continued to laugh. When she couldn't stand on her own in the entertainment industry, she still had to endure these hardships for a while longer. Besides, how could she easily escape the control of those two people? They were only giving her some temporary benefits now, so that she could become an even more formidable pawn in the future. Xiao Hui told me that Zhao Jinxing had put her to sleep a long time ago. I understood that sick person all too well. He said he loved her, but in reality, it was all just a sophisticated form of selfishness. If it wasn't like that, then when Lin Qingshuang beat my sister to the point of death, he wouldn't have stopped her. I continued to praise her. With your parents' connections in the entertainment industry, you can already enter the industry. Why do you need to go to school anymore? Maybe just one movie is enough to make you famous. At that time your parents will have to rely on you. I shrugged and sighed. Unlike me, I still have to continue studying, waiting to see if any company or director will notice me. Of course, how can you compare to me? My sister was even more pleased. She suddenly burst out laughing and asked me, have you been living well at the Song family recently? I cleverly let her see the surprise flashing in my eyes, then quickly shook my head. Don't talk nonsense, I'm doing very well. Humph, I'm about to go bankrupt and I'm still doing well? My sister walked away arrogantly. Sure enough, she stopped focusing on her studies and started using her account to receive advertising contracts. She even contacted the director herself to audition. I had someone follow her and take pictures of her interacting with men. I picked out a few photos with the most delicate angles and sent them to marketing accounts. Very quickly. Hashtag Zhao Jinxing's daughter, Zhao Yu suspected of having a boyfriend hashtag climbed to the top of the search results. My sister became the center of attention in a short time. After the audition, she went home with a proud expression. Both famous and having received a role, the entire dormitory seemed unable to contain her. The filming is about to start. I guess I'll only have one more week of school. Her two roommates immediately agreed. I'm really jealous of you, Noyet. You're already acting in a movie in your first year. You're truly a child of a star. If my sister had a tail, she would be wagging it to the sky right now. Just be happy. This happiness will soon turn into tragedy. As for me, I started reading books on business administration. I prepared to register for classes during winter and summer break. Although Nuanyuan was still young, she had said that she didn't want to join the company when she grew up. My parents said that even if Nuanyuan joined the company, because she was still so young, she would have to wait a few more years. They still wanted to hand over the company to me. For Nuanyuan's sake, of course I was willing. I wanted to make sure that she would be carefree for the rest of her life and be able to do whatever she wanted. As for my sister, sure enough, the next day she was taken away by Zhao Jinxing. I didn't see with my own eyes how Zhao Jinxing punished my sister. But I could imagine. Half a month later, she returned to school. All of her noble ladylike demeanor had disappeared. She became timid all over, and even when someone passed by, she would be startled and scared. As long as someone touched her, she would scream. When someone asked my sister what happened, she calmed down a bit and smiled and said that nothing happened. But her pale face clearly didn't look like nothing happened. I knew that she had been miserably tortured by Zhao Jinxing. She suddenly asked me, "Did they treat you like that too? How did you get through it?" I smiled innocently. "What are you talking about?" She suddenly seemed agitated, screaming and rushing towards me. "Why is it like this? Why? You can become a big star, why can't I? Things shouldn't be like this." She shook her head, then looked at me expectantly. "Is your family about to go bankrupt?" I looked even more confused. "Why don't you understand what I'm saying?" The two roommates were bewildered and whispered to each other, "Is Zhao Yu crazy?" I turned my head and smiled at them. "Don't talk nonsense. My sister really went crazy. In my previous life, at this time, I had become a famous star. At that time, the Song family had already gone bankrupt. Now everything had changed completely, and she had been tortured by Zhao Jinxing in sick ways for several days. How could she not go crazy? She suddenly pushed me away and ran away. I immediately chased after her. In this state, what if she ran out onto the street and got hit by a car and died? How could I let her die so easily? I stopped a taxi and followed her. I didn't expect her to come to my house. My parents were both at home, and when they saw Zhao Yu storming in, they were both stunned. Zhao Yu looked around and muttered, "Why haven't you gone bankrupt yet? It's all an illusion, you must have gone bankrupt, it's all just an empty shell." When my mother saw me coming in, she reflexively ran over to protect me. "Nuan Nuan, why did you come back so suddenly? Go into your room and avoid being hurt by her." My father shouted, "Get her out now. I'll report you guys. Tax evasion." That's right, my parents evaded taxes, you guys definitely did the same. She then fumbled around looking for her phone, but couldn't find it. Just now, I paid for her taxi fare outside. Sister. Nuan Nuan had just come home from school, and when she saw me, she happily ran over and hugged me. "You're back?" My sister heard Nuan Nuan calling me sister, and was immediately stunned. I hugged Nuan Nuan. "Nuan Nuan, don't be afraid." She took a few steps forward. "Who is this child?" Her crazy eyes turned towards my mother. "You gave birth? How is that possible?" The day my sister performed on stage, she was so focused on herself and only wanted to impress her parents, she completely failed to notice that my parents and Nuan Nuan were also present. At this moment, the security guard came in and dragged my sister out. Even though they were far away, I could still hear her screams of dissatisfaction. Why did everything change? Why? My mother let go of me. "Who is that? Why did she come to our house?" I stroked Nuan Nuan's hair. "Mom and Dad, she is my biological sister, you two met at the orphanage before." My parents were both surprised. They sighed and said, "Nuan Nuan, we know you two are related by blood, but no matter what, you still have to protect yourself." I know my limits, thank you, Mom and Dad. I could feel my parents' love for me in every moment. 11. The next day when I returned to school, I saw my sister again. She looked much more normal. But the look in her eyes when she looked at me was filled with hatred, unable to be hidden. "Song Nuan, don't be too happy, I won't lose to you." In her previous life, she had indeed won. But this time, I would make her lose everything, including her life. My sister still did not believe that our fates had completely changed. I have already registered for the Golden Deer Goddess competition. Do you dare to compete with me? In my previous life, I had won the title of Golden Deer Goddess. It was through this event that I had confirmed my position as the top goddess. I sighed and said softly, if you want to compete, then I will register too. When there were only 2 of us in the dormitory, I held her hand. Sister, I listened to you in everything, can you tell me what happened? She pushed my hand away. Who is your sister? There's no one else but us now, you're still my real sister. Looking at you like this, I can't help but worry. I sighed and asked. My acting skills were clearly better than hers. Sister, tell me, did someone bully you? Did your foster parents treat you badly? Did they torture you? My sister stared at me, you know, right? I just know that you're my sister, no matter what happens, I just want you to live well. I pretended to wipe away my tears and continued, if your foster parents mistreat you, you must tell me. But don't come to my house and go crazy. What else do you mean by reporting my parents for tax evasion? Just because your parents did that doesn't mean my parents did it too. Why don't you report your parents? Hearing that, her eyes lit up. She suddenly burst out laughing. Even without them, I can still make a name for myself in the entertainment industry. Yes, I knew she had remembered what I said. The next morning, the news about Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingxuang's tax evasion was all over the newspapers. Like other criminals, they were both banned. After reading the news, I didn't feel satisfied at all. That pair of devils should have gone to hell. I led her into an empty classroom. Sister, did you really report your parents? This matter can be settled by just paying back the taxes, no need to go to jail. But if they find out that you reported it, they will definitely kill you. I looked at her with a worried gaze. Sister, I don't want you to die, they are the ones who deserve to die. She nodded, her eyes were soulless, only deep cruelty remained. Yes, they are the ones who deserve to die. 12. A few days later. The news of Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingxuang died in a fire had shocked the entire social network. At that time, I was present at the scene. The 2 were carried out by firefighters, their bodies burned beyond recognition. My body couldn't help but tremble, excitement surging through my body. My sister had fallen into a state of extreme madness both physically and mentally. Just like her previous life, as long as I suggested a few words, she would become a sharp blade. Those 2 people had finally been dealt with. The case was still under investigation. I returned to school. My sister looked extremely radiant. Song Nuan, I'm about to join the film crew, I've already asked for leave. She smiled and walked over. Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingxuang evaded taxes and committed suicide. I will publicly announce that I've severed ties with them. I don't need parents like that anymore. I nodded, I really can't keep them. But, sis, did they really commit suicide? I pretended to be skeptical. The smile on her face immediately disappeared. The police are still investigating, they might even have to call you in for questioning, you might not be able to join the group right away. A trace of worry flashed across her face. Why are you asking me? They committed suicide. But just as I expected, the police detained her for investigation, not allowing her to leave the city. In the following days, she gradually became panicky, which could be seen clearly in her eyes. After that, she didn't even go to school anymore. On National Day, I returned home. As soon as I entered, I was surprised to see my sister. She was kneeling in front of my parents, crying non-stop. Mom and Dad, do you really not recognize me? I'm your daughter. My mother saw me enter and immediately ran over. Nuan Nuan, your sister's condition is really not good, should we take her to the hospital? My mother added, after all, she is your biological sister. I am your daughter." My sister rushed forward, squeezed between me and my mother, and shouted, "The person you wanted to adopt was me. In your previous life, the person you chose was also me. You didn't go bankrupt, did you? Everything has changed, it's completely different from your previous life." She grabbed my shoulder tightly. "You know, right? You did it on purpose. Did you reincarnate too? Song Wan, it was all your plan, it was you." I gently raised my hand to comfort her. "Sister, calm down, why did you become so crazy?" My parents, out of respect for me, prepared a room for my sister. I knew that she was the one who burned Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingshuang to death. But with her current condition, even if there was sufficient evidence, she would not be sentenced to death. At worst, she'll be sent to a mental hospital. I told you, I want to make her lose everything, including her life. I also want her to watch me fall into hell while she's conscious. The next morning, I went to my sister's room. "Sister, let's go down for breakfast." She jumped up from the bed. "The police are here to arrest me. The police are here to arrest me." I quickly went over to reassure her. No one is coming. Don't worry, I will protect you." I smiled slightly. Let's go down for breakfast." During breakfast, my parents kept picking up food for me and Nguyen. My sister looked at that scene, the jealousy in her eyes burning stronger and stronger. After the meal, she suddenly bowed her head and apologized to my parents. "Uncle, Aunt, that day I said your family was going bankrupt because I said something wrong. Please don't take it to heart." My parents just smiled faintly, not saying anything more. My sister was unwilling. I knew clearly that this time she wanted to compete with me for my parents. She was truly an insatiable, greedy person. But she would die in her own greed. I was always by her side. During the National Day holiday, my sister began to show her trust in me. She said to me, Nguyen, can you tell your uncle and aunt to adopt me too? That way we will never have to be apart again." She seemed to have sobered up, and her thoughts became clearer. I hesitated and said, "Actually, I told my parents, but they said. She immediately grabbed my hand and asked excitedly, "What did they say?" My eyes started to well up with tears. "They said that having me and Nguyen is enough." My sister immediately stood up. She looked at me, didn't say a word, and walked out. I followed her secretly. I saw her enter my mother's room. I stood outside the door. "Auntie, I really like this family. I really like you and Uncle, and Nguyen. Can you let me be your daughter? I will definitely try my best. I will be better than Nguyen. The upcoming Golden Deer Goddess competition, you will definitely win." My mother was silent for a moment, then after receiving a look of confirmation from me, she spoke up, "Okay, as long as you win the Golden Deer Goddess title, I will accept you as my daughter." My sister immediately became excited. When she came out and saw me, she raised her head high, her nose pointing up to the sky. I smiled lightly. "Sister, have you heard about the last meal?" My sister completely ignored what I said. Now all she thought about was winning the Golden Deer Goddess title and returning to the Song family. Every day she followed the votes for the competition. At first, it was true that my sister was in the lead. The two of us passed round after round, and finally entered the final round. Only my sister and I were left. Our votes were always close. In order to create a little more suspense for the audience, the final votes were locked. Only the organizers knew the results. My sister was extremely confident that she would win. But she didn't know that this competition was just using her to gain attention. With so much negative news surrounding her, from her adoptive parents evading taxes to her sudden death in a fire, how could the title of Goddess of Gold and Deer fall into her hands? 14. On the day the results were announced, my whole family went to the TV station. My sister and I wore gorgeous evening gowns and sat in the audience. My sister suddenly leaned close to my ear. Tong Nuan, my parents promised me that if I won the title of Goddess of Golden Deer, they would adopt me as their daughter. How about we bet again? Whoever wins gets to stay. Do you dare? I just wanted to ask, do you have a brain? Which normal person would agree to bet with you? But in front of my sister, I couldn't act normal. I curled my lips. A word is set. The host's loud voice rang out. The most thrilling moment has arrived. The winner of the 26th Golden Deer Goddess title is. I turned my head to look at her. She slightly raised her chin, still full of confidence. At this time, her spirit had improved a lot. Song Nuan. The host's voice rang out again. Congratulations. Amidst the thunderous applause, I stood up, turned around, bowed to everyone, and walked onto the stage. Impossible. My sister suddenly stood up. The camera immediately changed. The audience behind her was in an uproar. At this moment, someone had already held my sister back. She started to go crazy again. Goddess Jean Lu is mine. My parents are mine. I am the young lady of the Song family. Song Nuan, I will kill you. I must kill you. Finally, her mouth was covered and she was dragged away. I walked onto the stage, taking the glory that belonged to me. Whether it was in the previous life or this life, this had not changed. 15. The police were still investigating the true cause of Zhao Jinxing and Lin Qingxuang's deaths. Finally, they had a clue. Because someone had provided them with a video recording of the fire that day. At the same time, my sister called to meet me on the rooftop of a commercial building. In my previous life, right here, I was pushed down by my sister and died miserably. Sure enough, whether it was my previous life or this life, when my sister was at her wit's end, she always wanted to drag me down as a sacrifice. Just like in her previous life, when she saw me appear, my sister became agitated. Nuan Nuan, aren't you my good little sister? As long as you die, I will become the daughter of the Song family again. As for that little girl Song Nuan Nuan, she shouldn't have existed in this life. I will be the only child of the Song family. My eyes gradually turned cold. She shouldn't, absolutely shouldn't touch Nuan Nuan. I looked at her, and said seriously, word by word, you don't deserve to be my sister, and I will forever be Nuan Nuan's sister. Then go die. My sister became agitated, and when she was about to rush at me, the hidden police appeared in time. Raise your hands, don't move. My sister's expression changed immediately. She suddenly stopped, her steps faltered, she lost her balance and fell. Before she fell, she tried to grab me, her eyes filled with madness. But I quickly moved away, letting her reach into the air. In a place she couldn't see, my right leg was tied tightly to the most solid pillar of the building. My sister was dead. Falling from a great height, her death was extremely tragic. After finishing taking my statement, I walked out of the police station. The sky outside was clear and blue. I took out my phone and called Xiao Hui. When we met, I handed her the last amount of money. You can retire now. Xiao Hui took the money and left. That video was what I asked her to record. It was all evidence. Even though my sister was dead, she was still a criminal. I returned home. My parents and Nuan came to hug me tightly. No, the dead cannot come back to life, don't be too sad. I hugged my family. I wasn't sad at all. Because the people I loved the most were by my side. And my real life officially began from this moment. And if you find it interesting, please give me a like and subscribe.